Yep.
And to me, it's just the most incredible place in the world. It's the most incredible experiment. Like, we have kids who are retarded here that are millionaires. Like, we win. You can be someone who is mentally ill and be a millionaire. Name another country that's possible. There are streamers on the internet that are mentally retarded.
Yes.
And they're millionaires. What the fuck? Is that not amazing? Like, is that not mind-blowing?
Yeah.
Only in America.
Oh, yeah.
You got some of that tism that your friend talked about.
Bro.
Patrick Bet David is on a hiring spree. On the latest episode of his podcast, he dropped one of the biggest flexes to date, offering YouTube comedian Andrew Schulz a late-night show as part of a $500 million investment into setting up a media company to compete with the likes of Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, and Jimmy Kimmel. Except it doesn't quite make sense. So stick around for my full breakdown. But not only that, on the same episode, Andrew dropped one of his biggest Schulz epiphanies to date in his attempt to sound smart and fit in with the PBD crew.
If you control the carrot, you control the culture.
Yeah, our boy Schulz just discovered capitalism. What was that about millionaires on the internet? But listen, you may have heard recently that PBD hired disgraced TV puppet Chris Cuomo to join his Valuetainment brand and start creating content on his platform. So I'll go through the controversy towards the end of this video and show you a few interesting facts and figures that led to Fredo joining PBD's Valuetainment grift. For now, though, let's take a look at this $500 million media company that PBD wants to create and hire Andrew Schulz to head up a new late-night talk show.
If I wanted to, do a late-night show with any guy, and I'm going to keep saying this until this happens. There's two guys I love.
I like
two
it.
guys.
Okay.
I think the other guy's going to do something. I think he's going to go a different direction than you. I think you're more versatile, that you can talk a lot of different topics, but I think that guy's also going to do something. Marcelo SNL, I'm a big fan of him.
Marcelo's great.
But for you, hey, if I were to put $500 million into a media company to want to have a late night show, I would probably spend 20% of it and sign a guy to do a late night show, bring writers, bring a team, and have that guy compete against the Fallon, the Kimmel, all those guys, and I think you would kill it, bro.
Up my man.
I think you would kill it.
And I would watch it.
Bro, I would come and watch. I'd be sitting there saying, I'm going to be sitting there watching it. So
maybe we got to make something happen.
Maybe we got to make something happen.
Maybe we got to make something.
But since
that space could be taken over quite easily.
100%.
Yeah.
I think 100% that space can be taken.
Okay, oh my God, here we go. First thing, let's just forget for a moment that PBD doesn't have $500 million to throw at a media company. In fact, I doubt he even has $5 million. His whole life is leased or on credit cards. I mean, PBD's the kind of guy to do a house tour on a rental property. Secondly, let's say he did set up his $500 million media company. On what network is he going to run this talk show? Like, does he really know what he's saying? If he's going to compete in that space, he'd have to buy an existing TV network to broadcast all of these shows. And that takes me to my next point. He already has a media company. It's a YouTube channel called Valuetainment, where he pays for his guests, probably with borrowed money, and has also been accused of buying views, likes, and comments. But here's the thing. Here's some free advice for the big man. There already are a bunch of competitors to the late night talk shows. Have you heard of Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Tim Dillon, Bad Friends, YMH Studios, etc., etc.? Oh, and don't forget, have you heard of Flagrant? See, there are these things called comedy podcasts that already compete with the establishment talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert, and Jimmy Fallon. Schulz is already doing it. So why would you set up a $500 million media company with money you don't have to enter an industry that's already been overtaken by lower cost, higher retention, more profitable podcasts with much lower barriers to entry? And if you needed more proof that PBD is talking complete BS to flex in front of Schulz, take a look at this next clip. After Schulz explained how his parents met, PBD asks him how much influence his childhood has had on his own life after recently becoming a father himself. And in a few short words, PBD exposes his lack of knowledge about just how late-night talk shows really work.
How much of what the way he raised you and they raised you are you planning on using on the way you raise your kids?
I mean, as much as I can. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to keep those things. Like, I'm at home 6 o'clock every day when I'm in town, and hopefully that'll be our little dinner. dinner situation, hang in, plug in. And
So
then,
late night not going to work.
well, when she goes to bed, when my daughter goes to bed, that's when I'll go out and do shows.
When she goes to bed, then you go out there and do shows.
Yeah.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
Whoops, did PBD not realize in his infinite wisdom that late night talk shows are recorded during the day? Did nobody tell him they're not live? Come on, surely someone willing to throw $100 million at Andrew Schulz to run a talk show knows that it's all pre-recorded, just like a podcast. Maybe it's because PBD live streams most of his own podcast and just assumed that's how it works for all media. Anyway, after all this talk show talk, Schulz decided to share one of his epiphanies about how capitalism works, which he came up with after his interview last week with RFK Jr. on Flagrant. Now, when you're watching this, just remember, this is the condensed version.
We had RFK on the pod, right?
Yeah,
Have you guys
that's right.
spoken to RFK?
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
A charming guy, really charming. And he said something on the pod that was a joke. It wasn't a joke, it was serious, but it was meant in like a laughing way, right? And he basically is talking about, because I asked him about, hanging out with Epstein. And he goes, listen, you understand, I'm in New York at this time. He goes, I had Bill Cosby at my house. I had OJ at my house. I had Harvey Weinstein. He goes through the gambit of the worst people on purpose. He's trying to show, look how many awful people were in my life. Instead of these Hollywood phonies that go, oh my God, Harvey Weinstein, how could you even be with him? And then all of them have pictures sucking his dick on the red carpet for a decade.
Right. On their knees. Yeah.
Exactly. And he goes, and then you find out these people are swamp creatures and they're just absolutely disgusting.
Yep.
Fallon does a joke and they just take the section where he talks about the people, Weinstein, OJ, whatever. And then he does it, oh my God, who else were you hanging out with? Jeffrey Dahmer, blah, blah, blah. A few nights later, Colbert does the same joke, right? And you see it, and they're both leaving out the context that he's like, hey, this is, how crazy is that this can happen? You can hang out with these awful people because you're in this social scene, you don't even know it, right? That's the context, right? But they leave out the context of everything. And I'm watching this and I'm like, I see how people could think that there is a conspiracy going on. When you see this information, you see the same joke written twice. There's only 3 late night shows. They should be aware of the jokes that are kind of being made based off the same clip taken out of context. You're like, oh my God, there's a conspiracy. But I think sometimes laziness presents itself as conspiracy. The laziness is there are these writers, right? That they know they just need to get jokes on in order to, continue their life, right? They got to chase the path of least resistance to make money, to provide for their families, right? They don't love that job. They're not passionate about writing knock jokes for Fallon or any of the other late night hosts. It's not their desire. A lot of them probably started as comedians, stand-up comedians. They want to be out there touring and doing that. This is what pays the bills, protects their family. That's awesome. You don't need a nefarious group of people to create assets out of every single politician and lobby every single group if you can control the path of least resistance. That's the thing that scares me, right? I think that's the TikTok concern. If you control the carrot, you control the culture.
Yes.
For example, movies in China. Hollywood knows if you get a movie in China, they take 10 a year. If you get a movie in China, that movie's making crazy money, right? So now all of a sudden, Taiwan isn't going to ever be mentioned in a movie because you want to make sure it meets the Chinese standards. They are dangling the carrot, creating the path of least resistance, and then affecting culture. And I feel like that's one of the things. Capitalism is the best system, no question, without the best thing that we got. But it was developed at a time where we were the ones consuming everything. We were the biggest consumers. Now you got some other money out there. And if the only thing driving us is capital, we can be manipulated by those sources out there that have the capital.
Wow, that's so insightful. At the ripe old age of 40 years old, Andrew Schulz just figured out that the guys with the deepest pockets have the loudest voices. Incredible. But let me just say one thing here, right? A lot of people don't realize this. During the pandemic, Andrew Schulz released a series of videos on social media that were basically like short talk show monologues where he'd address current issues and events and make jokes about them. Now, Schulz has openly said and explained that he had a team of writers behind him pumping out all of those jokes. So for him to sit there and criticize writers on late night talk shows for towing the company line, well, that's precisely how he got famous during the pandemic. I'll tell you what, that's the height of hypocrisy, even for a guy like Schulz.
You can be someone who is mentally ill and be a millionaire. Name another country where that's possible.
And so the circle jerk continued. After Schulz educated the panel with his momentary glimpse into the machinations of a capitalist society, they began to hatch a plan to appeal to the masses. And just in case you needed a reminder, don't forget about what Schulz did to his fans with his independently released comedy special when PBD craps on about how Schulz has values and principles.
I'm a big fan of yours. I'm very excited and curious to know what you do next 20 years because I think you're an intellect and you're entertaining and there's values and principles. Holy shit, that's a great combo.
Triple threat.
So, meaning the upside of the influence, I want to see what a late night, if we have a late night that's being ran by a guy like Andrew and people are watching it, logic will sink in as long as he can have the influence over the writers, as long as like, no, I'm not writing this. I'm not writing this. No, I'm not saying this. No, guys, can we, is this true? Is this really happening? Can you Google it? No, I don't, that's not what he said. Let me play the whole clip. Okay, no, I'm not with this. If we have to compete with culture, right? Because if you let it be the way it is right now, you're talking about Fallon and Kimmel and Colbert and they're saying what they're saying. Like, no, this is not going to work out. So that's why I'm curious to know what you're going to be doing next 20.
Especially if there's no directive, that there's nobody on top saying, like Andrew, you can't say this, don't, that cannot be infiltrated at all. It's like, listen, we're going to be funny and speak the fact.
Okay. So you're telling me that PBD is going to sink $500 million of monopoly money into a media company and have no editorial oversight of the content they produce? Oh, that's great. Forget about PBD's politics for a minute. I just love how guys like him think that they can remain completely objective and only speak facts and wouldn't fall into the same traps as the mainstream media. But speaking of mainstream media, look what happened to Chris Cuomo. He got fired from CNN for lying to his employer and to his audience about the extent of his involvement in his brother's media campaign. Remember how his brother Andrew Cuomo was the governor of New York and ended up having to resign back in 2021 over allegations of assault and harassment that were lodged against him? Well, apparently Mr. CNN was doing groundwork for his brother behind the scenes while he was still working for CNN. So after he was fired, he went out and tried to do his own thing on YouTube, except nobody watched. Take a look at some of his latest videos. This is the guy who was banking over $6 million a year working for CNN, and now he's getting Brendan Schaub numbers on YouTube. I think a lot of these guys don't realize that without a big network behind you, nobody's going to follow you. And that's definitely one of the reasons why he ended up taking the deal with PBD.
Cuomo's right now with News Nation, and he's enjoying it on the cable side, right?
I thought he's coming here.
No, non-cable is with us. Okay. Cable, he's with News Nation. We're not interested. We're not competing cable. So cable, you do whatever you want to do. Cable, on the non-cable stuff, you're going to see him a lot more involved here, stuff that we're doing, because this guy's going to be voting for Trump. So we need somebody else that we can be talking to. And
we need some more lefties around here.
There you go. Fair and balanced, hey? Who better than Chris Cuomo and Adam Sosnick to keep each other honest?
There are streamers on the internet that are mentally retarded.
Yes.
And they're millionaires.
And speaking of millionaires, Chris Cuomo took a massive pay cut going from CNN to News Nation, where he reportedly earns around $1 million a year, which is $5 million less per year than he was earning at CNN. So it kind of makes sense that he would sign up with PBD to earn some extra cash, just to earn a few extra dollars and make up for his losses. But PBD supporters are not happy about this. The comment section on his podcast are full of people trashing Cuomo, and it's funny because the first video I ever made on this very channel covered Chris Cuomo's appearance on the PBD podcast last year, where PBD sucked up to him the whole time and made a new bestie. For some reason, PBD seems to be obsessed with these establishment figures who come from powerful families. I honestly think he was just so starstruck by Cuomo when he first met him that he saw an opportunity to sign him up just so he can say that he employed one of the Cuomo brothers. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what kind of content Chris comes out with on Valuetainment. I'm sure it'll be cringy as hell and give us plenty of material to point and laugh at. Let's just hope Schulz doesn't get sucked into PBD's circle, and I actually don't think he will. He seems like he's just entertaining his delusions to be friendly and doesn't mind a bit of the old ego stroking,
What a time to be alive where rappers got to talk about comedians for clout.
God bless, dude.
Like, we are up right now.
God bless.
The biggest story about the album, outside of the album and people enjoying it, was a sub at a comedian? And you don't even got to say my name and it still makes headlines?
It's crazy.
You're welcome. You are what? How many views did I give him, you think? I would make love to him and there's nothing he could do about it. Just Kendrick Lamar, I would make love to him and the only thing that he could do is decide if it's consensual or not. That's the only thing he could do. I need you like this. I need thigh, but I need it to be like two.
All right.
Yes. This is sit down. Be humble.
When it comes to the top 250 free speech warriors, none of them are more sensitive than Joe Rogan and his crew of ass kissers. We've seen Brendan Schaub rage crying over a 6-word tweet from Nate Diaz. Rogan himself recently went on an unhinged rant about how dragons probably did exist after Joy Behar called him a dragon believer. Bert Kreischer started crying after he found out that people on Reddit were making bets on how much longer he has left before he dies of a heart attack. Tom Segura complained to his wife on YMH recently after he got roasted for shaving his beard in the comment section, and Tony Hinchcliffe uploaded a 35-minute set from the mothership onto X, trying to explain the intricacies of Puerto Rico's landfill problem. But now our boy Andrew Schulz has joined the ranks of the top 250 coping comedians on the latest episode of Flagrant after Kendrick Lamar referenced a joke he made on his podcast about black women.
Listen, rappers are telling comedians we need to be more respectful to women, so we gotta sit back and reflect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
They're the most pious group.
Listen, nobody has respected women more. Through art.
Yes.
Than rappers, okay?
Absolutely.
So I completely understand how a rapper could look at a comedian telling a joke and be like, yo, y'all need to switch that shit up.
Yeah.
How dare y'all keep saying your wives are annoying? Be more like us and, ain't nothing but hoes and tricks. I beat my with a stick, what? You can lick on the nuts or suck the dick. I beat my with a stick, what?
Did you just think of that?
That's a real lyric.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a real lyric from music that protects women.
As usual with the elite comedy assassins, they start off being funny, then it starts to get a little bit cringy, followed by bucket loads of copium. However, Andy and the Toy Story boys took it to a whole new level, where it went from cringe to just being straight up fucking weird. Schultzy really is a strange dude. He's got some demons behind those eyes. But to start off with, I'm going to give you the full context behind this whole situation, because it goes back a few episodes to when the British podcasters from Shits and Gigs went on Flagrant. Just before we get into that, remember to check out the link in the description below to my Patreon, where you'll find all my uncensored longer form content. I just dropped a video the other day reviewing Tony Hinchcliffe's Twitter special, so go and check that out if you're interested. It's also a great way to support the channel. Now, as for Schultzy and his band of squealing hyenas, this is how it all started.
Wait, what is the black girlfriend effect? This is
You don't know about
glow
this.
up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a black girlfriend, all of a sudden he's got buzz cut, clean shape up. Glows up, bro.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends,
They grow a beard
they step their
because
dick
there's
up.
more cushion when they get slapped the out of.
That's hilarious.
I think the black girlfriend effect. It might be a protective instinct, bro.
You think?
Protective.
Yeah. Do you guys have you ever had black girlfriends?
Yeah.
Have you ever had white girls?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. What's your favorite?
We love them all.
Yeah.
Oh really?
We love them all.
Yeah.
That means white.
Yo, who gets?
That means what?
Hey, let me do the US translation.
Kendrick fans, get him!
We love them all.
Yeah,
man.
that's royal English for white.
So this ended up being a strange situation where the guests weren't the ones who made the joke, it was clearly Andrew Schulz, but they were the ones who ended up apologizing for laughing at what he was saying. We've seen Shane Gillis take a hit for mocking Asians on his own podcast a few years ago without any guests, and Joe Rogan was forced to make a hostage-style apology video after the N-word compilation resurfaced. But I do think it was pretty cringy to see these two apologize for laughing at a joke in the moment on a podcast that's known for talking absolute dog shit. And everyone's got a different opinion on whether Schultz's take on the black girlfriend effect was funny, which is kind of like the response to Tony Hinchcliffe's trash joke. But the thing I think people are forgetting is that this is the type of material that the Rogan Six are famous for. Low-hanging, divisive, and offensive one-liners that appeal to the lowest common denominator. That's how you murder these days. Now, you guys know my view on that kind of material. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. And if enough people don't like it, then eventually they'll have to come up with new material and raise the bar. But for the most part, Schulz and his green room brethren are still selling out venues around the world, so I'd say they're not going to change their tune anytime soon. So Schulz and his boy band used the apology video to mock their former guests and reinforce just how much they don't give a fuck about offending people.
Any listeners here that are upset at us, we just want to let you know that you're going to stay upset. Okay? What we're not going to do is sit here with our dicks tucked between our legs apologizing on the podcast for jokes. Okay? Matter of fact, we have a new apology video that we should definitely watch. And I want it. Al, stop laughing, dude. They're defending their community. They came on the podcast. They got a lot of flack for laughing at a joke. And I would just want to hear their apology. These are serious guys. And this is a serious apology. Al. Al. No, can you take it seriously?
All right, serious.
Okay.
Right, before we get into today's episode, quick PSA, quick acknowledgement. So, if you know, you know. If you don't, that's fine. But we just wanted to address something that's happening at the minute. This past weekend, there's been a couple of clips going around from when we did a session on the Flagrant podcast while we were on our US tour. There were a few jokes made that were incredibly inappropriate. One specifically pertaining to black women. And in the clip, Andrew was making a joke. I'm not even going to get into specifics. Frankly, like racist joke. And we were laughing at it. And to give, first of all, before we get into like specifics or anything like that, obviously there's just literally no excuse. Fight or flight is a real thing. Like it is, fight or flight is a real thing, and it's so not easy to say, but when you're in the situations, you look at it through a lens of like, bro, if it was me, I promise you I'll stand up, I'll kick them cameras down, I'll smack homeboy in the face, I would say this, I'll do that. But when you're in there, you're in shock.
You're in shock, and all you want to do is move on.
Pause.
Move on is the fuck.
I've been there. I know what that's like. When you're just having fun and laughing with the boys and you're like, I just can't wait to move on from this. Don't you know that feeling when you experience the fight or flight and then you just laugh? Does that happen to you guys when your body is just being torn with the primal urge to either fight or flight and instead you just go, ha ha ha? Do you guys ever have that feeling?
I feel like you're making an excuse for jokes.
I would never.
That sounds like what you're doing.
Hey, I would never excuse taking two things that have nothing to do with one another and then bring them together to make your friends laugh. I would never excuse that, Mark.
Yeah, like I said, that apology was cringe as fuck, and it went on and on and on. I only just clipped up those bits to give you the gist of what happened because I want to focus on Schulz's response to the lyrics in Kendrick's new song. But I will say the way Andrew and his butt buddies carry on as if they're the gatekeepers of free speech and offensive comedy is just as cringe as the apology. Now, let's get into the Kendrick beef because in one of the songs on his new album, Schulz got called out for talking shit about black women, and so the cope started.
All right, let's see the exact line, okay? Don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman, that's law. Now, technically speaking, if we're going off of grammatic English, he's saying, I can talk about black women, and that is law.
Don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman.
So he's basically saying all white comedians
are only allowed to
talk about black women.
Exclusively.
That's what I'm talking about, Kendrick.
We're back.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a law.
Finally, he understands
It's a law.
Now I understand why he's doing a comedy with the South Park creators.
That makes sense.
Because he appreciates white comedians that make fun of black people.
There you go.
And they've done that brilliantly for decades.
Yeah, that's true.
And he would never want to, break one of his own laws.
No, that's true.
I mean, didn't they have a character called Token on the South Park show?
Yeah, they do.
Which I'm sure Kendrick is a big fan of.
That's true.
He must be a big fan if he's going to do a comedy with them. I mean, we can look that up. Apparently, he has a comedy coming out.
So Schulz's whole angle was to try and point out Kendrick's hypocrisy for trying to stand up for black women by pointing out all his own friends and collaborators who have a bad track record with women. I mean, it's 2024 and we've got a rapper and a comedian arguing over the moral high ground. That definitely was not on my bingo card for 2024. And as you can imagine, the comment section was divided, with a bunch of Kendrick's fans flooding the comments shitting on Schulz, mixed with Schulz's fangirls defending him. But the top comment was the funniest. Drake watching this laying on his stomach, kicking his feet in the air. Probably Tony Hinchcliffe as well. There's also a theory that Schulz is pushing to get Drake on the Flagrant podcast, and that's why he went so hard on Kendrick. Now, we've seen some professional level glazing from the likes of Joe Rogan with basically anyone from Hollywood. The Rock was the worst by far. And we saw even just this week how Burt Kreischer gave Dax Shepard a spit and polish. But if Drake went on Flagrant, that would be a whole new level of glaze worship. I fucking hope it happens. And so the longer their cope session went on, the cringier it got as they employed such comedic devices as sarcasm, misdirection, and irony to portray Kendrick as a woke hypocrite. Imagine Andrew Schulz roasting someone for being a hypocrite.
Here's what you gotta understand about Kendrick. It's very important to him to protect black women. That's why he's never done a song with an abuser confirmed. He's never done a song with anybody that's suspected of abuse. He's never threatened to remove his music from Spotify because they removed R. Kelly's music, who for sure and held captive underage black women.
Hold on.
This is all very important to Kendrick.
Wait, just let me understand what's going on here, because I think that you're using sarcasm as a comedic device.
It is a comedic device.
But you're so smart right now that I don't know if you're serious or making jokes. Are you saying that Kendrick Lamar put it on wax that he is protecting black women from white comedians' jokes, but not the kidnapping, molestation, and of R. Kelly? And actually, in reality, he would take his own music off Spotify to protect R. Kelly?
Yeah.
Someone who's kidnapped,
a sexual
molested,
predator,
and black women?
Oof, children.
Are you saying that he's done songs with other men who have potentially put hands on black women?
Not potentially, confirmed.
Wait a minute, convicted?
Yeah, I don't know what you call Chris Brown, but yeah, whatever that is.
Not breezy! Not breezy! I took a picture with Chris Brown. Hey, bro, I took a picture with him immediately.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
We ain't protecting nobody. Y'all can protect your f***ing selves.
Everybody gets these jokes over here.
Okay, that was definitely scripted. But what happened next, I'm not so sure. I don't really know how to explain this, but shit got weird. Somewhere along the way, Andrew Schulz developed an overinflated opinion of his own physical abilities because he did a few rounds of interval training on the pads with his personal trainer.
You see him hit pads?
Let's not get carried away.
Don't get carried away. He can hit pads. Bro.
I've seen him hit pads. Yeah, I'm not giving him
you up.
Don't say that out loud.
He will
because now I'm going to have to fight him, and I love him so much.
He's going to you. I love him too.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
He's going to pop you with that jab.
Him. Nope. You're going to get me
riled up. He's going to move like a real athlete, and you're going to panic.
I love Andrew.
Give me some volume.
Andrew's an athlete and stuff like that, but you better stop it right now.
Shut the fuck up.
He can play basketball.
I'm seeing Brian Callen getting boxed up.
You're
right
out
now.
of your f***ing mind. You're out of your mind.
Boxed up.
You're out of your mind, but I love him.
You're getting boxed up.
You're getting me really riled up.
He's going to box you up.
He's got good reach, though. He's a big kid.
You up. He's not hitting the miss very hard, but he's going to hit you hard.
Andrew Schulz has that clip saved on his phone for whenever he's having a bad day. He pulls it out and bites his lip as he watches it, just as a little reminder that he's a problem for any of his haters that want to fuck around and find out. And now that Kendrick's a certified hater himself, Schulz wants to fuck him and find out.
First of all, Kendrick's people and the gang affiliate, everybody, his security, they will kill me. They will destroy me. They'll find me in the street. They'll and cut me up, they'll shoot, they'll do whatever. I'm not a tough guy, y'all do. But just Kendrick, I would make love to him, and there's nothing he could do about it. Just Kendrick Lamar, I would make love to him, and the only thing that he could do is decide if it's consensual or not. That's the only thing he could do. If it's me and Kendrick, this is about physics. It's about physics. I don't even know if I'll get hard. But if we're in a cell, there's a chance that if we're in a cell and we're bored and we done tattooing each other, whatever you do in the cell, and we ran out of board games and we did all the other things, we cleaned everything, and I'm like, man, I might as well f you. There's nothing he could physically do to stop that besides put his legs in the air and choose a position. Maybe Mark, I'll let him choose a position.
Why are you pulling this picture up, Mark? Why are you doing this?
Put up that picture of him and Travis Kelce's girl. Look at that shit.
Oh my God, dude, that's unbelievable.
Don't get me wrong. There's people who could f me against my will. I was in an elevator once with this drag queen, and this motherfucker was like 6'5".
Oh, yeah.
And we're in the elevator and we're going down. I'm like, yo, if he wanted to take it, I got to cause a ruckus or something like that. Like, I got to shit my pants. I got to do something. I got to do something to stop. He might enjoy it. I have no clue what they're into, but I know with Kendrick that he's talking a lot of shit, but if it came down to it, I could put him on my lap. I could feed him a bottle. I could put him on my lap. I could feed him a bottle and make love to him if I wanted to, and there's nothing he could do about it. I might not be hard. Might just slap soft against his butt.
But you can just beat him up. You don't have to f him, right?
No. We're not doing acts of physical violence over here, bro.
Okay.
That's what
This is an act of sweet love.
This is an act of love.
Oh, you're a pacifist.
I'm saying I could be romantic with him and there's nothing he could do about it, to the point, like, I think I'm so charming he would just fall into it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think he would just be so charmed. He would be like, damn, like, whap, 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 whap. Let me suck it up. The only thing he could do is, after I was finished, like, write some words that rhyme together about it.
Oh, that
Do you know
album
what I
would be
mean?
fire.
Like,
That would be a
and
good
that
album.
would, oh my God.
He can make some calls. He can make some calls.
Yeah, you want to
That
talk
he
about
can
another album called Damn. Be humble. Sit down. Reincarnated. Ask how penetrated. Listen, but in all seriousness, we love Kendrick Lamar, our woke king. And I think we're gonna do our best to abide by his. I don't know what his rules are about, like, me having sex with him if we're in a room together.
I don't think you'd want that.
We don't know.
Okay, Schulz just straight up ripped off that Key and Peele sketch about Mike Tyson. Andrew Schulz finally found someone he could physically bully, a 5'6" rapper, but I'm not gonna lie, it's kinda sus. We've all speculated over the years that all the nipple tweaking, leg grabbing, and arm squeezing was kinda zesty, not to mention the chronic leg crossing on display from Andrew and his side piece Akash. So this was a kind of weird angle for Schulz to take, and he really leaned into it. I mean, you could tell that he really thought about this. It wasn't just some off-the-cuff remark or one-liner. Schulz went hard.
I'm gonna make a commitment right now that if Kendrick wants to squabble up, I'm tongue kissing him.
Why? You don't have to do that. What the hell?
What?
I was like, you're married. What the?
Reincarnated. What voice should I make him singing? What song should I make? But listen, if we're in a jail cell,
you're gonna pull your back out, having to duck that look.
Listen, if we're in a jail cell, low-key, if we're in a jail cell, right? and we're making sweet love, you know? Because there's nothing he could do about it.
I like that you're making it consensual sweet love. Can I say that?
No, it's consensual sweet love. Because at a certain point in time, you realize there's nothing he's a pillow.
Yeah.
Why are you in a jail cell for this?
No, but I could use him as
a
a pillow. That's what I could do. I could be like, yo, look, put your thighs at the end of my bed. I'm gonna rest my head on it while I go sleep. And there's nothing he could do about it.
Oh my God.
His people could absolutely destroy me. I'm not a tough guy. But Kendrick, it could be I would use him as a whole body pillow. So I'd say lay there rigor mortis, but I'm gonna put like your legs in between my legs. Do you know how like pregnant women sleep?
Like a waifu. That's your wife.
He's my waifu.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Only white comedians can make this joke, bro.
I don't even know if we can, bro.
This is a new law.
Yeah, you should have said that. White comedians don't joke about me in the ass. Like, I would have put that in the song.
His
Excuse me?
I said I'd make him hold his thighs together tight, make a little out of that. Not put my dick where he doo-doos, Mark. That's disgusting.
That's gay
Make
also.
a little thigh pussy for me.
Yeah. Oh.
Squeeze it tight. I need you like this. I need thigh pussy, but I need it to be like two.
All right.
Yes. This is sit down. Be humble.
We know that guys like Andrew Schulz and Tony Hinchcliffe are prolific joke writers and provide their services for other comedians, so it wouldn't surprise me if the two of them collaborated on this one. I mean, this has got Hinchcliffe written all over it, especially that thigh-squeezing thing he was talking about at the end there. That's definitely Tony. But once they all ran out of ammunition, they started to get a little bit more serious about everything, and this is where the hypocrisy started. Like I said at the beginning, never underestimate a fragile comic's ability to contradict themselves in the worst way possible.
He's gonna have some bars for you in the Super Bowl. Watch. He's gonna
have some bars for you.
I mean, the irony that he's like, we need to protect women. And he's performing at the Super Bowl, which is literally the Super Bowl of beating the shit out of women, guys. This is the problem. Is like when you're on your way up, nobody looks at your hypocrisy because they want you to be on the throne so bad. Like naturally, human beings, we all have this. Like we look at the number 2 and we're like, I see myself in you. Go out there, go get it. Once you're on the throne, all we see is hypocrisy. Anytime the person is in power, and clearly Kendrick is number 1 right now, anytime he's out there, we're looking back at what he's done and we're like, oh, you're this woke guy, but then you really do people that are completely inconsistent with what you say you care about. Maybe you're just using this as an identity to feed your narcissism, and you can't just go out there and be a complete narcissist, so you're gonna masquerade as an altruist, someone who protects the community, but you only do it when it benefits you, when you put out an album. Like, where's all this love for black women when Kamala was running for president?
Okay, hang on a minute. So Schulz is accusing Kendrick of using this as an identity to feed his narcissism because he's only protecting the community when it benefits him because he's putting out an album. Remember the last time Schulz put out a comedy special and made up that story about how he got screwed over by a streaming service that he refused to name because they asked him to take out a few jokes and edit his finished product? At that moment, Andrew became a beacon for free speech. But as usual, the grift took over and he ended up waving the American flag in the name of anti-censorship and convinced his fans that buying his special from his website was an act of defiance against the tyranny of woke Hollywood who were trying to silence him. As it turned out, though, he ended up releasing the special straight to YouTube after a few weeks behind the paywall, after promising his fans they'd have the paid link forever. So for Schulz to sit there with a straight face and accuse Kendrick of race baiting his audience because he's got a new album out is another fine example of the pot calling the kettle black. What a dickhead. Anyway, make sure you go and check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in my longer form uncensored content. While you're here though, hit the subscribe button and make sure you give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
Y'all be doing foreplay. Y'all be warming up the mud. It's wet already. Stop making jokes. Stop trying to have fun with the boys. Al, you're trying to have fun with the boys.
I'm thankful for you guys, bro.
Viral moments. It was Joe Rogan. What's her name?
Call her daddy.
Call her daddy. Academics.
Yeah.
I don't know another podcast that would have viral moments. Now, I'm not Daniel Elk. I don't know what he's looking for. Maybe he feels like your market share is already there or something. But I don't know another podcast that would have viral moments that exists on the internet than those 3.
They're not paying for viral moments.
Yeah, I don't know if they're listening to just viral moments.
The majority of their traction and audience were not coming from creator-filled podcasts. Like, for example, like I've seen some of the stats, like most of their listenership, because it stopped becoming about, okay, how much do you guys publish a week? Once or twice?
Publicly. Once regular and then once Patreon.
Okay, so once. So great, you guys might do phenomenal numbers, but they're like, well, we have NPR or we have
every
whoever.
single day.
Shit, even with us, they would have wanted us to drop every day.
So they want hours listens.
Yes, yeah. It's like because I got into me and my lawyer was arguing about this. It was like, yo, hey, listen, per the contract, you just need to drop. And I'm like, if the content isn't good, I don't want to drop. They're like, you just have to drop.
No.
And I'm like, it's gonna water down the brand. They're like, well, listen, it's all about just getting the content out.
Yeah.
So that's a different strategy than what most creators would want, right?
Yeah, so right there, you can see how Schulz never fully appreciated that it's not just about views or downloads, it's more about listening hours and keeping people on the platform. And slowly throughout this conversation with DJ Academics, Schulz realizes that those kinds of deals and content creation are way out of his league. Now, let me just say this before we go on. Andrew Schulz makes a lot of money from Flagrant, Let's not understate that. I've run the numbers in a previous video for you guys, and it ended up being around $250K per month, including YouTube ads, sponsored ad reads, and the Patreon income as well, which is very, very high. That is a serious business, so don't think for a second that I'm trying to dismiss Schulz as some low-life YouTuber like me. The guy's carved out a really nice little audience for himself, and he's feeding his buddies and keeping the lights on. No one can deny that, right? But what he starts to realize in this conversation is that what Rogan does is way out of his league and in a completely different universe compared to what he does. So if Schulz is doing $250K a month and having to take care of, say, 8 to 10 of his buddies, Rogan's doing $10 to $20 million a month and only having to take care of himself, Jamie, and maybe 2 or 3 other people. Here's why.
If you guys signed, I don't know, what's the number for you guys? 40 million?
300 million.
300? Mm-hmm. Well, he's just nodded to anything. 300? Maybe 300. Okay, I bet.
Yeah, 9 figures.
Okay, cool. You got Rogan's contract, right? I think Rogan does 3 a week or 2 a week?
4, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Really? 4. Okay, cool. Now you guys have to do 8 a week. Also, you have to keep a career up.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm out.
So now you can't really do it, but you are in this contract, you're trying to do it.
I don't think people realize what Rogan does, bro.
It's insane.
Yeah. And of course.
And not just the number of episodes, the duration of each episode.
And of course.
And every person he's speaking to, except comics, is an expert in their field, and he has to know what the they're talking about to ask questions about.
He's amazing.
And does 2 hours of comedy a week at the comedy club.
So he went from $300 million to quickly realizing, oh, we put out a few hours of content per week, which is a lot, but Rogan's doing 12 to 15 hours a week with 10 times the audience that we have. Yeah, that's a completely different league. Now, I'm going to get to Rogan's contract and break it down into its different parts and explain how it all works and why it's so ludicrous towards the end. But to get there, we need to understand the other part of the equation. So far, we've just been discussing how many hours of content these guys put out per week, which corresponds to ad revenue, right? The more listen hours you have, the more ad reads you can ram down people's throats and get them to buy all this stuff that they don't need. But that's only half the story, because what Spotify's really interested in isn't just ad revenue. It's something else.
We're doing user acquisition contracts. Hey, well, Ak, you're the hip hop guy, or say before me, Joe Budden. We want to get the hip hop people over here, so we're paying you really to bring the hip hop audience.
Right.
Right? Oh, okay. Well, Joe Rogan, you're this guy. We're paying for your audience to come here.
They just want to get you listening or watching podcasts on their platform. Once they get that.
And here's the thing, too. So they were also carefully watching. As they're spending, hey, millions here, millions here, millions here, every quarter they're going back to their investors saying, hey, we're down, but trust the vision. The stock price dropped from near almost 300 to 60.
Okay, so now we can get into the details of Rogan's Spotify contract and it'll all fall into place. What they were talking about just there was this fancy corporate BS called audience acquisition, which just means that there is a competition for users between different platforms. So for Spotify, they did their first podcast deal with Rogan because he has the biggest podcast audience, and by signing him exclusively to their platform to keep listening to full episodes, we all had to migrate from YouTube to Spotify, even though it's still free to listen to. Now, I'm going to explain at the end why this is a losing strategy and how it ended up backfiring on Spotify and saw their share price tank as a result, but let's understand Rogan's deal first. And to do that, I'm actually going to break down Steven Crowder's recent controversial public spat with Daily Wire over an offer that they made him, which he ended up publicly rejecting. Here's how it went down. Crowder wanted to move from Blaze TV into a bigger, more profitable deal with a wider reach, and he ended up receiving a $50 million offer from Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. But here's the thing. They were going to give him $50 million over 4 years, and he would have to continue producing his normal show 4 days per week with some additional promos here and there, etc. And all of that Crowder would have to cover with his $50 million. but Daily Wire were the ones who would monetize his show and put all of the ads on there and organize the ad reads instead of Crowder doing that himself. That's what the $50 million was for. Now, Rogan's contract is not like that. It's different, right? Rogan's contract is a lot simpler. Basically, Spotify said to him, we want you to upload your podcast only on Spotify for the next 3 years, and if you do that, we'll give you close to $100 million per year. So while Rogan has to still produce his own show with his own money like Crowder did, he actually got to still do his own monetization on top of that and keep all of that money for himself. Now, as far as I'm aware, that's the basic arrangement between Rogan and Spotify. So Rogan's making way more than just what the Spotify deal is worth, right? He still gets all his YouTube ad revenue from his Clips channel, doing around 30 to 40 million views per month, which comes out at around $5 to $6 million a year. And more importantly, he gets all of his sponsorship money and ad reads all to himself, just like he used to. So basically, Rogan's Spotify deal is exactly what DJ Academics was describing. It was purely an audience acquisition deal. So for Rogan, why would you say no to that? I mean, what's the difference? Instead of uploading to YouTube every day, he uploads to Spotify and gets almost $100 million extra every single year. So that is just such a rare deal to have, right? Think about every other big-time late show host or like Howard Stern or some cable news host, for example. They just get their massive salaries and they go home. Maybe they get a bonus or something. But for Rogan, he gets the massive salary and he gets to keep all the ad revenue for himself and basically only has to pay a handful of staff. It's pretty wild when you think about it, right? Like, imagine Sean Hannity getting his salary and all the revenue from the commercial breaks. It's crazy. And so slowly you can see how Andrew Schulz realizes what's really going on and proceeds to explain it back to us to help himself understand it in classic Schulz style.
Spotify isn't Disney Plus. Spotify isn't Netflix. Like, I'm watching Netflix as long as there's a Netflix show I want to watch. Spotify is my listening app. If I want to listen to music, I turn on Spotify. If I want to look for a podcast, I turn on Spotify. So if they gobble up all of your audience, once they know they have your audience, they've already committed, they're buying, they're spending every month, they have a confidence that your audience is not gonna stop listening. Matter of fact, if you just go do your podcast on your own, you're probably gonna upload it to Spotify. We're already on Spotify right now for free. Why would they pay us $300?
Hey, we're not on a Spotify exclusive contract anymore. We still upload to Spotify. When you first brought your audience here, they've been subscribed for 2 years. You were here for 2 years, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Right? They've been listening to not only your podcast, other podcasts, music, this and third. Now we're done with you. How many people you think are gonna You could lead a charge like, hey, leave Spotify. How many people think
We're not on to Netflix because we have this behavior that just turns on Netflix. We're on Netflix because they have a show we really want to watch. So they need to keep creating content. With Spotify, the majority of our time on Spotify is with music. So once it becomes our music platform, we'll also listen to podcasts there. So it's very hard for me to unsubscribe to Spotify, which I now listen to music and I listen to all my other podcasts on, or I do whatever I listen to, just because one person left.
Hey, there you go, Schultzy. You got it, buddy. You're worth nothing to Spotify, and this guy wanted $300 million. Yeah, okay. But then, straight after this, he went back to his delusions and said that he'd only do a long-term deal with Spotify because his audience is worth so much to them. Stick around, I've got a hot take for you guys on this straight after.
But that's why I say the number's so high. I don't think that the number for us is honest, if you will. Dove uses this term like honest when it comes to a deal. Our number isn't honest, but I know that if we bring all of our listeners onto a platform, if your platform is good, like Spotify is good, they're just gonna keep listening to everything there. So what is the cost to bring all of our listeners onto your platform forever? You don't have to pay for 2 years. You pay them forever.
Okay, here's the thing. Like I said earlier, no disrespect to Schulz on what he's been able to create. He pulls in millions of views every week. He's got no problem booking guests, etc. He's doing really well for himself, okay? No one can take that away from him. But all of these brogan comedy brats, they need a reality check. Most of their audience was already Rogan's audience. Spotify already acquired most of your listeners when they did the deal with Rogan. I mean, I personally found most of these guys through listening to JRE, and I know there's a bunch of you out there that have lived outside of JRE, but for most people, that's how they know Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Andrew Schulz, Tim Dillon, Shane Gillis, the list goes on. Rogan basically owns these guys. It's pretty funny actually when you think about it, right? It's like this massive net that sits on top of all these comedy YouTubers, but they can't admit it and think that they somehow cultivated their own audience outside of the exposure that they got through Rogan. Now, I can actually remember myself the first time I heard Andrew Schulz on JRE and thought, hey, this guy's kind of funny. What else does he do? And I looked up his name and found Flagrant 2 at the time. Now it's Flagrant. And I became a regular listener. That's how most of these guys found their audience. So at the end of the day, they're all basically just YouTube comedians who do stand-up tours and feed off of Papa Rogan. Why do you think Spotify's second biggest deal is with Call Her Daddy? Almost the complete opposite audience of JRE. And so between those two podcasts, Spotify has cast a net over both men and women aged between 25 and 50. So why would they need to make all these other little deals when they already have such a big net over the same audience anyway? So that's my breakdown of Rogan's Spotify deal, how Andrew Schulz and the Comedy Brats fit into the mix, and basically how Rogan really is a unicorn in that content creation space. But I want to finish today's video by giving you my view on why Spotify is going about all of this wrong, and why there isn't really a solution for them, which puts them in a pretty tricky position. I mean, they're basically stuck.
What do you think the future of that is with Spotify?
Well,
because Spotify's firing people like crazy.
They're making more money now. They're saving money.
So that you think they invested all the money in terms of to gain market share. Now they have market share and they're like, okay, we don't need to invest as much in private.
They're going to do a little bit more content, but I think at this point, you know, they're just trying to find ways to make revenue, right? I think their new thing, because now they're the number one in podcast listening, they're going to probably try to incite and offer to people who they don't have to pay exclusive contracts to and be like, hey, listen, we have a monetization strategy where you can do ads for us. They
so
do
just
it now.
like YouTube. They're trying to compete with YouTube.
Yeah, no, of course.
That right there is why Spotify is basically screwed. And DJ Academics is 100% right. Like he just said, all of this is so they can increase their revenue and keep their shareholders happy, except it's not working. I showed you this the other day, but here it is again, just briefly. Spotify earns 88% of their revenue from their premium subscription, which has nothing to do with podcasting, and 12% from ad services, which is more aligned with podcasting and longer form content. And when you look at their total user base, it's getting close to 600 million monthly active listeners with around 226 million premium subscribers. Now, if Rogan has a unique audience of 10 to 20 million, that's a drop in the ocean for them, even if they stick around and sign up for premium and listen to music. So this deal really benefited Rogan more than anyone, and the problem for Spotify is YouTube. YouTube doesn't need to do big multi-million-dollar deals with creators because they have the most sophisticated advertising ecosystem and revenue-sharing program in the world by a mile. No other platform comes close to the pull that YouTube has with creators, and that's what Spotify doesn't have, and they never will. I mean, YouTube and Google's parent company is worth $1.7 trillion with a T. Spotify's barely worth $40 billion, and YouTube runs off the same ad system that Google does, and they were the first ones to do it. So YouTube has this invisible hand where it's almost a disadvantage not to be on YouTube because of how easy it is to create content and get paid. I mean, you're not going to upload your iPhone 15 review or whatever onto Spotify. First of all, no one will be able to discover it because Spotify has almost no discoverability, and if people do somehow find it and watch it, who's going to pay you? Spotify doesn't have an ad revenue sharing system like YouTube does. And also, don't forget, after Google, YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. So, at the end of the day, my view is that podcasters can only afford to be exclusive to Spotify if they have a direct deal with them. Otherwise, they'll just do what Schulz and DJ Academics.
There'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like,
I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
Maybe even more reasonably, he's just kind of run selfishly this whole time, and he never really cared about our well-being. I don't know that he did, because none of the actions have shown me differently. His words did. I was excited about his RFK. I was like, yo, they could fix the food. He was saying this and that. I was like, hey, man, I think this could work out. None of it has happened. None of it has happened.
Yeah.
America's foremost political journalist, Andrew Schulz, has finally realized that he was duped. And it's perfect. Watching Andy and the Toy Story boys sitting around looking confused as to how this could have happened is ironically some of the funniest shit I've seen on Flagrant in a while. Remember, this is the guy who, over the past year, deliberately repositioned himself and his podcast around this whole independent political commentator grift. After Rogan swallowed Elon's Musk, Schulz wasted absolutely no time in jumping on the bandwagon, believing that this time was different. Trump was serious. He was going to drain the swamp, release the Epstein client list, and finally expose the deep state. Schulz even had him on the podcast where he had his people change up the set a little, make it all nice and cozy, and then proceeded to ask a total of 0 questions about Epstein or the list, and why he didn't release the files in his first administration. Instead, Schulz smiled and nodded while he ate up Trump's aura and hyped the idea that this was all about to happen, that Trump was finally going to deliver the goods. But now, after Trump told the whole nation to collectively shut the fuck up about the Epstein files, Schulz's audience has turned on him. Why didn't you guys ask Trump directly about his involvement with Epstein when Trump was on your show? Not only did you vote for this, you helped campaign for it. Imagine carrying water for this administration, then acting shocked when you find out they lied to you. Who was the president when Epstein unalived? Who was friends with him for years and years? Schulz still believes in Trump. Trump is one of them. They played us once again, and we fell for it once again. Trying to defend Trump at this point puts you in the cult. Round of applause for Flagrant. You all fucking campaigned for this. You are the guys who had Trump on your show and laughed your asses off with him. Sometimes the laughter needs to stop. Crazy how much Schulz deflects from Trump, refusing any negative light every turn. Remember when Andrew said it's not cool to be a Democrat right now? Yeah, man, you look so freaking cool right now. This is your guy, Andrew. I like Schulz, but let's be honest, he's a confident idiot. He literally helped Trump get elected. You voted for this and helped make it happen, Andrew. And that's exactly the point here. Schulz didn't just fall for Trump privately, he helped market the idea that Trump would finally pull back the curtain and reveal the Epstein files. The worst part is, though, that Schulz still can't admit that he fucked up. Because as you've probably already seen, Trump isn't just failing to deliver, he's openly mocking these guys now. Trump even just doubled down on Truth Social, dismissing the whole Epstein discourse as a waste of time, ridiculing his so-called friends for even asking about it, and said Epstein was somebody that nobody cares about anymore. Hey Schultzy, he's talking about you, bro. And so even when confronted with that reality, Schulz, well, let's just say he still doesn't quite understand that he's been duped. Instead, what we get from him and his crew is pure cope, a masterclass in influencer mental gymnastics as they try to justify, explain, and rationalize why their guy, the guy who helped rebrand their entire show around, is now treating them like fools.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't like answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February.
So we're stupid.
Yeah.
we're the idiots, guys. Just to let you know,
I mean,
we're
look
wasting
at
time.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
That is, like, in all seriousness, that is, I think, what is enraging people right now is it's insulting our intelligence. Like, obviously, the intelligence community is trying to cover it up. Obviously, the Trump administration is trying to cover up. Something changed because they ran on this idea of exposing it all. All these guys had great ideas. Cockeyed Cash, Dan Bongino.
He had clips, dog. He had bars.
He was ready to tear it all down. He was ready to tear down the entire FBI office.
Shut down the Hoover building day one.
Day one.
That bitch still standing.
And then he goes on Joe Rogan and he's like, listen, do you think if I had it, I wouldn't share it with you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I do believe that 100%, especially when you're staring at me like this, telling me that.
So after that moment, after Trump publicly dismisses Epstein as irrelevant and Schulz and the flagrant crew half realize that they're the fucking idiots, Schulz does exactly what you'd expect. He pivots. He doesn't confront the fact that he helped to build this narrative. He doesn't acknowledge that he himself spent the better part of a year hyping Trump as the man who was finally going to release the Epstein files and deliver the transparency that all these legacy media outlets supposedly couldn't. Instead, Schulz immediately reframes the whole thing as a matter of tone, as if what's really bothering people is simply how dismissive Trump sounded at that press conference. But this is where it gets beautiful, because Schulz can't even see that it isn't just Trump insulting their intelligence, it's so much worse for him than that, because Schulz is implicated in this shit show now too. The reason his audience is now turning on him isn't because they're suddenly shocked that Trump didn't follow through. It's because Schulz spent the last year positioning himself as the guy who knew better, as the independent thinker who had outgrown comedy and become something more serious, something smarter. I mean, how many times have we had to sit through epiphany after epiphany about the simplest shit most of us had figured out back in high school? But when he finally got Trump across the table, he didn't ask about Epstein, he didn't push back on anything substantive, he didn't challenge Trump on any of the contradictions. He smiled, nodded, licked it all up, and asked for more like a good boy. And even now, even after surviving this whole humiliation ritual, he still can't quite admit that he was part of the con.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, but you keep talking about this Epstein. They keep talking about this Epstein list. I got the list on my desk. Now they're saying nothing happened. So one of two things in my mind is possible. One, you're covering it up, or two, nothing really happened and you exploited the rape of thousands of children to get your man elected. So which one do you want here? Because that one to me sounds just as bad, if not worse.
This is where things get even funnier, because instead of sitting there in that studio and accepting what has just happened, that Trump has blown them off, that the Epstein list was never coming, that this entire narrative they've wrapped themselves in has imploded, Schulz and the flagrant crew immediately started performing the exact routine we've seen from the podcaster ecosystem over and over again when they get caught with their pants down and their dicks in their hands. They don't admit fault, they don't acknowledge that they hyped all of this, they don't sit in the reality that they were duped. Instead, they pull out the mental gymnastics, because the best move in this situation is to continue to act like you're smarter and more independent than your average viewer. So what do? They start asking the questions they should have asked years ago. Maybe there's a cover-up. Maybe there's some dark national security reason why Trump had to walk this back.